Hello my YouTube family and friends out there. How's everyone doing? Today we are finishing up the portrait in pencil. How to draw the portrait in pencil. So pretty much doing the finishing touches, and I'm glad that you're able to join me. So let's go ahead and start this. It's just going to be a quick moment. I'm just going to go to my reference. Okay, great. So let's jump right into it here. So right now, I'm just making sure I even out all the values, make sure I didn't get overzealous with some of the light areas, especially the white. It's a real danger when working in tinted paper with white pastel and graphite is to go overboard with the graphite. So you really have to know when to pull in the reins, so to speak. So it's very important. As you can see, my hands have scratches. We have a little kitten, and I play a lot with the little kitten. Kitten's very playful and sort of is tearing apart my hand. I definitely gotta stop that, at least having the kitten tear apart my hand like she is. So as you can see, I'm working in the use of the white pastel, but also making sure that I'm utilizing this wonderful tinted paper and its value. Okay, and if you are out there, please leave a comment, and I'll be more than happy to try and answer your question. If I don't get a chance to answer your question, always feel free to just go ahead and, leave a comment on this, and maybe tomorrow I'll be able to go ahead and help you out. So I always love to, I do see a live stream. Let me see if I can see the questions and answers here, if anyone has asked a question. Okay, nope. Nope. Just bear with me, guys. It'll just be one quick moment. Just got to go to my channel. Okay, so while we're working on that technical aspect, let's go ahead and make sure that the value on the nose, you see how this value is a little strong in the fact that the lights and darks are a little different than each other, and I think that's the problem. I think, let me just lower the volume on this. Okay. All right, and see if I can hit that button. Okay, so right here I can see that the values are very, the contrast is too high. So with that being said, I have to lower that. It's so easy for us to see nostril and nose, and then just go ahead and make sure we delineate the line between the nostril and the rest of the nose. But if we really pay attention, much of the time there are these lost edges where there are no boundaries. Even though they're there, we're not seeing them. So I hope that makes sense. So knowing here as well, see, it's also the same thing, is that human nature of trying to delineate the actual nostril from the rest of the face as well, and the nose actually from the rest of the face. So there's a cast shadow here, but the interesting thing about the cast shadow is that it does not, the cast shadow actually bleeds into the shadow of the nose. So you really can't see the edge of the two, where the nose and the rest of the face start. So I'm going to use this stump that is dedicated just to the graphite. I have another stump that is dedicated just to the whites, or the white pastel. Now there's always lights in the darks, well, most of the time, and I want to make sure that I'm not making up detail that's not there, but also make sure that I'm not simplifying shadows either. And that's some tendency that we can do, is actually simplify the shadows. We don't want to do that, because a lot of times there are these beautiful details within the shadows. When we lose it, we lose those details, and in essence we lose the realism. So you can see all these little subtleties can definitely be lost when we're painting with our subconscious and not our consciousness. Okay, so you can see I'm using the white pastel here. Soften this edge. Now what's interesting is that over here it's a little dark area, a little bit darker. And then right here is very, very soft. Right here, just sort of bleeding into this cast shadow, the nostril. So you can see how difficult it is to really be critical of your own eye sometimes. You know, just because, you know, in the later stages is when we can really dissect what we're doing and make sure that what we're doing is correct, or what we have done. So we'll go a long way. I always tell my students, you can only defend your artwork either on the easel, the drafting table, or in the sketch pad. Once you sign it, there's no more defending it. You don't have a right to defend it. It has to stand on its own. I can't see the chats yet, but if you are leaving a question, please feel free to. As soon as I can, I will answer your question. Now you can definitely see over here, this edge is a little harsh on the nose there. And I like to move around, especially in the end game here. Definitely like to move around. So here we have the eye. And definitely we're talking about the eye to the left. Just want to make sure that, like the nostril, I'm not making up detail that's not there, and also making sure I didn't miss any details, especially in the shadows. You want to use the white. You want to basically exploit everything in that white area that you can to create a better piece of realistic artwork. So definitely, but you also want to use it correctly. If you use too much white, it can cause a real problem, and you definitely don't want that. That's for sure. Now, what we can do is we could actually lay some extra white here and take your stump that's dedicated to white, and you can pull some of that off. No harm done over there. And then you could go ahead pull some white there. So once again, you could go ahead and put some extra white, take your stump, pull that off, and use that much as if you were using an airbrush or a paintbrush. And of course, we'll just put in some white there with the intent of smoothing this white pastel with the stump. And then, because we want to give the white of the eyes a feeling of volume, of a three-dimensional form, a roundish form. There we go. So I really hope you're enjoying this thus far. I'm just going to check and see if, let me just reposition this here. Okay. Now right here is interesting. I'm not sure what's happening there. So let's go to the reference. I'll go to the reference very quickly. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking, but that's way too dark. So let's go ahead and establish the light here. There we go. Now, the value difference between here and here is very subtle, but it's not harsh like that. So we'll just go ahead, very lightly do a dusting of this white pastel. And notice that white is very, when using this technique, white is very rarely white. Only when it's layered does the white pastel actually become pure white. Then here, as this is becoming part of the back of her neck, it does go into shadow. We want to make sure that this happens not too harshly. Not because you don't want it to be harshly, but that's not the way it is in the reference, in the model. Notice how I'm very careful to keep my stumps separate and using the correct stump for whatever it is I'm blending. So you see how I'm continuing to move around. It's very important to move around, especially at the end, because you want to make sure that you are doing things where they are in harmony with everything else, that your darks are not too dark and your lights are not too light, your values are right on the money. And also there might be some areas where you need to go ahead and put a little more detail, right? And maybe push back some detail in some areas. Now, looking at this here, I definitely can see that I can darken this because this is a structural form. So I'm just going to come in with my mechanical pencil here, and I'm going to make sure that I hit the correct value. You want to keep this reflected light here, which is very nice. It also gives a feeling of form, gives the illusion that light is bouncing all around. And of course right here is her cast shadow. You want to make sure you don't go too harsh, but you also want to make sure that you definitely give that sense of form, sense of three-dimensional form. Like I said, I don't have the ability right now to see the screen to answer any questions immediately, but I definitely will. If you leave some, it would definitely be my pleasure. Then you have to extend this dark here because it actually continues, because you know the light's coming from here. So of course, to have this cheek come this chin come forward, there has to be a shadow cast by it. Sometimes I'll actually go ahead and actually draw out the boundaries of the dark and the light, like here, just so I make sure that I hit that correctly. And there's varying techniques that we could use. We could use this, which is a cross hatching, and that works pretty well. The cross hatching is really good because you have that, you know, exact control. And remember is that you want to go light and then go dark because it's a lot easier to darken than it is to make lighter. And if you don't get the value correct, it could affect everything, because one value next to a value that's too dark is also going to be too dark. So you got to make sure that you pay attention to values. I think that's one of the things that I love about drawing, is the fact is that I can enjoy the science of art as well as just the creative part, the science of light. Okay, so now we don't want to use this particular stump, because remember, this stump is the stump that we use for the white pastel, and we want to use this stump, of course, which is the stump that we use for the graphite. So I just want to soften this up here. Make sure that these edges are not too harsh. Paying attention to edges is so important in capturing the subtlety and the drama of the light as it interacts with the form of the model. It's like we have to fight our subconscious which is telling us, okay, like the nose is separated and there's a nostril here, and the lips should be, there should be a line here. You know, all those different things we have to fight because that's what our mind tells us. But it's our eyes that is, if we can just see with our eyes, we'll be in much better shape. So I have this graphite on this stump here, and this is what I'm talking about moving around. Like if I was working in pastel, and let's say I'm working with a red pastel, right? And then I on the lips, and I'm like, wait a minute, I could use that red over here. So that's the thinking, you know. You want to continue moving around and make sure that you're seeing everything. And also, if you, the same thing with the drawing, you know, you can see I have this value here on this stump. So where can I use it to best serve the drawing? Now over here, I think I went a little too harsh, so I'll just soften that up. And I can also see that right over here, we have a little bit of a light that comes around and then sort of kisses the bottom of her lip right there. And something like that, believe it or not, is what could create or recreate the character of the model of the pose. Of course, the white pastel. Again, too harsh here. So let's make sure we soften it up. Now we're not using white paper. So when I hit the eraser on the surface, that gray color is going to come up. It really is a lot of fun. So I really hope you get a chance. If you haven't used tinted paper, you will love it. You'll love the freedom. You'll love the economy of use and everything. It's just a lot of fun. And you know, when I was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art during art school, I would go there and I got to meet somebody that was in the archives, drawing archives, and I was able to look at the old master drawings and also the French 19th century academic painters, and I was able to hold, let's say, a Michelangelo drawing. Well, of course it was in a case, but it was like right there on the table. And a lot of these drawings that they did right up to the 19th century were just on tinted paper. So I wasn't taught the whole tinted paper thing, but I would look at these drawings and then go to my classes at the National Academy School of Fine Arts in New York City, talk to my teacher and tell him that, you know, Harvey Dinnerstein, that I would love to use a tinted paper, and he was all cool with it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I'll tell you, I never stopped using the tinted paper since then. And I teach it because it's not being done too often, and it should be. Definitely should be. Okay. Now here it is, some drama going on here. I like to think of the play of light and dark as drama when I'm drawing. Kind of makes you not want to lessen it, right? Because you're seeing it as if you lose some of the drama in the drawing, you'll lose some of the character and the story behind it. Now you can actually use the stump once it has enough graphite on it, like a pencil, or even like a paintbrush in a sense, just to get some of these soft values. And like I said, I just love moving around, not staying in one spot. And that's the way I was taught by Harvey Dinnerstein, was you want to move around. You don't want to stay in one spot too long. Also, Angra, John Auguste Dominique Angra, stated in his memoirs that you want to draw the ensemble. You want it to feel as if it was all done at once, at one time. So that's why you want to move around. So right now, what I'm trying to find the drama that is in this light. It's not just a pure light, but there's sort of like a little bit of a stipple effect going on here. And I just want to get the nature of the light and how it's hitting the form and interacting with the nature of her cheek here. What's happening exactly? So we definitely want to have that interplay of the light and the dark moving around, getting. See right here, you can see I went a little overboard trying to get the drama, that there's like a sort of a gray line there. But that's good, you know, it's nothing that can't be fixed. So we'll just go ahead and just lightly. Now, with anything else, if you are lighter, very light with your hand, just sort of grazing the surface here, you can actually darken the value of the white pastel. And also, if the light lines are further away, that also darkens the value of the white pastel. So when I first was doing this, you know, when we first started, I definitely was saying to myself, wow, I think I went overboard with the white pastel. And I'm feeling good now that I think I'm sort of getting away from the overabundance of the white pastel, and also taking advantage of that really nice gray underneath. Now, I also want to make sure that I get the glow from the left side, that there is a glow, sort of a reflected light here. Oh yeah, see how I'm just going to go a little bit rough here. I'm actually going to go dark, or give pressure to the white pastel here, because it is very, the white or the light is actually pretty strong as it comes away from this nostril. So what I can do now is take, of course, the stump that's dedicated to the white, and I can just go ahead and blend that out. And of course, you see right here, which is very important, and but also now is the time to go ahead and soften a little bit of a cast shadow coming here. It's not much of a cast shadow, but I do love the way, like right here, we start to see that glow, and that's important. We want to make sure that we get that feeling in the nature of light. What's that light doing as it's weaker on this side as opposed to that side? It's weaker, but there's still some light there. What's it doing? So I do like the way that is coming out. So let's go ahead and take, because I want to come in with graphite just yet, because if I do, it'll be a little bit harsh. Because the value that's going to be here basically is achieved by just pulling up some of the white pastel here and using some of that gray paper underneath. There we go. Same with over here. That's not to say we can't go ahead and take this stump and see if there isn't just a little dark value here as it's describing her cheekbone. There we go. And just by paying attention to different aspects of the light, you can see that her character is coming out. I love that. The character of the pose, of her expression. Now, one of the reasons why I'm doing a live view like this and doing the YouTube videos. Now I do drawing, paintings, airbrush tutorials here on this channel, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy sharing my technique and everything with everybody. But sometimes I'm like, well, why should I? You know, I mean, there's a lot of art instruction out there, and people will, you know, they have a lot of art instruction. But I saw something on public access of this woman, and she was doing this scene. She kept saying, well, this is good enough and that's good enough, and she really didn't have the knowledge to share. And I was kind of like, oh no, that's not good. That, you know, share the knowledge you have as a teacher, but a teacher should not share the knowledge they don't have. And so that's one of the reasons why I am doing tonight's live feed. And that's why I'm really working hard to do these videos, so I can share what I know. And I think that's needed out there. I think that's something that's very important. So that's why I'm doing this. So I'm really starting to get to the point where, you know, I have a feeling of this coming to a conclusion. Now, I'm not there yet, that's for sure. So I'm not going to say it's done when it's not, because I want this to be a tutorial from beginning to end. Now, you can see the different stages of this drawing on my page, on my channel. I do have pretty much, you'll see from beginning to end almost, which is really great. It's a great learning tool, that's for sure. Now right here I can see that there is a little darker value right here. But then it lightens up pretty quickly. I'm just going to move some of that white pastel in here. Now it's not a highlight, but the thing is, this area is lighter in nature than the gray paper. So that's why you would have to use the white pastel for that. So I'm going to lay in the pastel with the foresight that I am going to blend it in. go. Now let's make sure that we're not overzealous with this white. Pull up some of the paper underneath. So definitely check out the video that I have. The videos, it's actually a playlist of this drawing from pretty much beginning to this point. And then this is going to be on the channel, so you'll be able to see it in, you know, at your leisure. So definitely, if you can, follow along. You know, on your own project, you could definitely come to this page and this channel and see some of the uses of the materials. I love the way that little bit of moisture just picks up the eye there. Okay. And you'd be surprised, you know, when you finally get to the point where you can do these really tight little details, such as the bottom eyelashes. That's always a sign that you're getting close to being done. It's when you're doing those really tight details. I definitely don't do any of those tight details until the end. And that's where the technique of you know, moving around a lot is. When you keep moving around, you're not sticking in one area, and also you're keeping everything relative to one another, which is really crucial. Now I definitely see that the hair could use some work, and that's something that I'm going to move into in just a moment, because it's too busy, right? Something's going on here that I definitely have to calm down. But first, I'm just going to see what angle or how far along the eyebrow goes in relation to the eye. So I can see about right here. And sort of comes out right from there. And then this has a little dark shape here. There we go. And like I said, this is all important to make sure that you get the character of this pose and of the model. So that's where we are right now. So I'm sort of happy with the way things are going at this particular moment. But let's go ahead while we are taking a little break from here and move on over to the hair, which will be fun. Let's see. Go in here. Okay. Now we'll start in this area here, and I can definitely see that there's a highlight here, but I definitely have it way too wide. And it's not going on that long. So gotta stop the highlight there. Then this is a hard edge, and this is definitely a soft edge. And you know, subtlety is king, especially in the portrait. It's also king, you know, in the face, but also with the hair and other elements. Subtlety is everything. Soften that up. Make that much more subtle. as I'm doing that, I can see that there's some shape or volume in her forehead there. There we go. And basically I want to make sure that I am not going too crazy with the lights and darks. So I'm just going to calm everything down here. Too much contrast. And even if sometimes there's contrast in your model, it might be better for the drawing and painting as a whole if you were to just calm that down. There we go. Okay, so that's basically going to conclude what we're doing right now. We're going to finish this up. I just wanted to do a very quick demonstration with everybody as a live view. I really hope you liked it. If you left any questions, if you have any questions, please go ahead, leave some feedback. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, so this way, and the little bell icon, and this way you'll be able to see my videos, be alerted, and not miss anything. I do all kinds of really great videos, demonstrations in, I do demonstrations in airbrush, pastel, and drawing like this, mostly the portrait and the figure. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.